Amazing ACT of kindness revealed. Employee S touching response to a millionaire's hidden test. Sarah wiped her brow as she navigated between tables, her gumbo of exhaustion and determination never letting her miss a beat. The diner hummed with chatter, a warm bubble of familiarity amidst the chaos outside. Bills stalked her like shadows, ever-present reminders of what was at stake. Luke, her 8-year-old son with dreams bigger than his mother's worries, needed new shoes for school, and she felt the crushing pressure of keeping that promise while the eviction notice loomed like a storm cloud. Just then, a wallet slipped from a patron's pocket near the register, a slightly worn, leather accessory bursting at the seams with cash. Sarah's heart raced, an unnecessary spark of hope flaring within. There was enough money in that wallet to make life a little easier, maybe new shoes for Luke, maybe even enough to pay a few overdue bills. Her upbringing echoed in her thoughts. Honesty was a virtue. Was it worth betraying everything she stood for in this moment of desperation? What would it say about her values, if she stole from someone who likely needed that money just as much? Uncertainty washed over her, quickening her breath and tightening her grip on the wallet. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. After a beat that felt like an eternity, she set the wallet down on her manager's desk, the heavy weight of it somehow lighter now that it wasn't in her grip. The judgmental whispers of some regulars echoed in her mind, yet the look on her manager's face gleaming with respect reminded her of whom she wanted to be. She felt the relief of her choice, but the bitterness lingered. Did such integrity mean anything in a world awash with greed? Tom, the newcomer sparking interest while seated in his usual booth, witnessed her principled choice from afar. He was searching for honesty, and here it was, right in front of him. Yet, he felt the weight of the unspoken truth. He was a millionaire, spying not just on potential projects for community growth, but on people of true character. Sarah's actions shook him, awakening something deep. Each moment after the wallet was returned twisted her stomach further. Did she squander an opportunity? Other waitresses might have snatched that fortune in a heartbeat. Doubts rubbed raw against her resolve as she served lemonade and pancakes, always hiding behind her smile. Would Tom ever see her, truly see her, beyond the waitress serving coffee? Or would she merely remain another facade in a quaint diner that, like her, could use a boost? Each time his kind eyes met hers, a flicker of hope battled the entrenched despair within her. But as those thoughts festered, anguish sunk deeper, clawing at her resolve, questioning if the life she had built on principles was worth the cost of dreams. In a few days, everything could change, yet she stood at a precipice. Would her commitment to integrity bear fruit, or would she drown in an avalanche of what-ifs? And amid the chatter of the diner, Luke's laughter echoed in her heart, a sound so real, yet so fragile, just like the hope she held tightly and worried might slip through her fingers. As the tension climbed, the seed of uncertainty took root, setting the stage for an unexpected whirlwind that could lead her to everything, or nothing at all. Sarah awoke the following morning to the relentless buzzing of her alarm clock, her mind tangled in a web of unrest. The decision to forego the wallet had weighed heavily on her since the incident. She sighed, pushing herself out of bed, feeling the familiar ache of anxiety in her chest. Every corner of her small apartment reminded her of the bills piling up, the broken heater, and the shoes Luke desperately needed. The weight of these responsibilities loomed larger each day, pushing her to question the choices she made under the flickering fluorescent lights of the diner. Downstairs, the smell of fresh coffee brewed in her tiny kitchen was a comforting distraction. As she poured a cup, her reflection caught in the window, tired eyes and a determined expression hidden beneath. It was easy to slip into despair when life felt like a treadmill with no exit, but something inside her stirred. She refused to allow her circumstances to determine who she was. She dressed quickly, but not mechanically. Each shirt and pair of jeans she donned felt like armor, a reminder that she was fighting for more than just survival. Today, She planned to take a different approach, one that could potentially shift her fate. It was time to break free from her victim mindset and draw a clear line she wouldn't cross. She would not chase after what could have been, but would instead focus on what lay ahead at the diner. The rhythm of her shifts began to take on an unexpected energy. With each coffee she poured and each order she took, she engaged more with the patrons, successfully shaking off the heavy residue of doubt. Though the bills still hovered in her mind, she noticed something interesting in how regulars responded to her renewed spirit. Laughter became more frequent. Small conversations bloomed into genuine exchanges. Tom was there again, this time at a different booth, observing her with intensity. Sarah's heart missed a beat. She decided it was time to speak with him, not as a waitress, but as a person with ambitions. Approaching him cautiously, she forced a smile. "Hey, I noticed you've come by a lot. How is the coffee treating you?" Tom smiled back, but his demeanor shifted to one of genuine interest. They exchanged small talk, and she grew bolder, asking him about his interests. Each question she directed at him carved out space for her own aspirations. She shared glimpses of her life, her dreams for Luke, the desire she had to pursue something greater than waiting tables. Each word was a brick, slowly building a foundation beneath her confidence. Tom leaned in, intrigued. "You have a spark, Sarah. Ever thought about using it for something bigger? Perhaps in our community projects?" His words hit her. Could she lend her honesty and resilience given the time and resources? Was her world widening beyond the diner's four walls? As she intuitively sensed possibilities, she felt a knot of optimism form within her. This new avenue for her future caused precious hope to ignite. Simple encounters began feeling loaded with potential as Tom spoke passionately about change, and Sarah contemplated her role in it. But beneath her growing excitement lay a nagging uncertainty. Talking to Tom had unearthed ambitions she had buried beneath self-doubt. Yet the thought of stepping into unknown territory frightened her. With those thoughts simmering and new ideas lighting the way, she returned to her tasks with renewed vigor. Each order filled, and every satisfied smile fueled her ambition. But as Tom continued to talk about his projects and opportunities, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that any breakthrough would require a level of risk she had yet to confront directly. Would she grasp this chance, even if it meant stepping outside her comfort zone? The realization simmered in her mind like the coffee she brewed, waiting for the moment to overflow into action. The day passed with a torrent of invigorating possibilities, yet the weight of responsibility never quite lifted. Luke's needs still loomed large, forcing her to confront a chilling question as she finally locked up the diner. Was she ready to risk security for the unknown? With that uncertainty hanging thick in the air, Sarah resolved to explore an uncertain but thrilling path ahead. Driven by ambitions she dared to acknowledge. As Tom finished up and left, he tossed her a folded card. "Call me," he said with a wink. With the card in her pocket, Sarah knew better than to dismiss potential. As she stepped into the night, the weight of her decisions pressed against her, yet the pull of curiosity danced just beyond her reach, lighting the way towards something unexpected. Would she find the courage to seize it? The answer awaited as she grappled with the crossroads before her. Sarah stood in her apartment later that night, the weight of Tom's card heavy in her pocket. The flickering light from the street lamp outside cast long shadows across the room, echoing her internal struggle. She had turned it over in her hands countless times since her shift ended, her mind racing with options and anxieties. The taste of hope was still fresh from her encounter at the diner, yet the flavor of reality of bills, responsibilities, and fear tainted it. She reminded herself that growth often required navigating through discomfort. Yet, the stakes felt different now. Each conversation with Tom revealed a pathway into unfamiliar territory, and the thought of stepping beyond the rigid boundaries of her current life filled her with both fear and exhilaration. Suddenly, her phone buzzed, pulling her from her spiraling thoughts. A message from Tom flashed on the screen. "I meant what I said. Let us discuss the community project tomorrow, if you're interested." The invitation felt like a lifeline thrown into turbulent water, but could she swim? Sarah hesitated. The fear of failure gnawed at her, but so did the idea of remaining stagnant. She remembered how effortlessly she had conversed with him earlier in the day. The dynamic of their exchange stirred something deep within her, perhaps a latent strength she had not recognized before. No more waiting. She whispered to herself, the resolve crystallizing. If nothing else, she could listen. A decision emerged within her that felt definitive. She would attend the meeting. She tapped out a quick response before she could second-guess herself. I'm in. What time? The reply came almost instantaneously. Great. See you at 10 a.m. I'll text you the location. With her heart racing, Sarah finally exhaled. The night seemed less suffocating now. She grabbed a pen and paper, jotting down thoughts and concerns about this project she barely understood. What if it required skills she didn't have? What if the people involved weren't interested in her ideas? Yet beneath those worries lay a stirring desire to contribute, to be heard, to transform her dreams for Luke into something actionable. She envisioned the possibilities, a collaborative effort, support from Tom, a chance to make a difference beyond her daily grind. As she prepared for bed, there was a flicker of something she hadn't felt in a while: anticipation. But sleep was elusive. Instead, she paced her small apartment, conjuring images of her future. Each scene was tinged with uncertainty, and yet, this time, they were infused with a glimmer of hope. The next morning dawned, the light slicing through the curtains like a signal. Sarah tidied her hair, dressed intentionally, a sharp blouse and those battered jeans. Mornings had become ritualistic as she cloaked herself for the day ahead. She needed to be ready, to appear capable. At the diner, the flow of customers came and went, but Sarah's thoughts were somewhere else. With each pot of coffee she served, her mind churned with plans and potential. Tom arrived almost on cue, a reassuring smile brightening his face as he slid into a booth. Ready for today? He asked as she refilled his cup. For whatever it brings, she replied, the words feeling like armor. As she took a moment to breathe, her mind flashed to the card tucked safely in her pocket. Your spark is what we need, Tom had said, but could she believe him? What if there was a part of her that was capable of leading this effort he represented? The thought shot through her like a lightning bolt. Then, in the midst of her reflections, a familiar face entered the diner, long and lean with a sharp suit, an investor who had frequented the diner before. He loved gourmet coffee, but also relished surprises. Today, however, Sarah felt something simmering in her gut as he scanned the room. What if he was connected to Tom's projects? What if this encounter could change everything? As he approached the counter, his expression unreadable, Sarah felt her heartbeat quicken. The time had come to face another crossroads, one that could push her into an even deeper realm of uncertainty or offer her an opportunity she couldn't yet foresee. What can I get started for you? She asked, forcing composure into her tone even as her stomach twisted. I need to discuss a proposal, he replied, leaning slightly closer. And I think you might be the right person for the job. Could this be her moment? The path ahead glimmered with promise, but uncertainty loomed as well. As his words washed over her, Sarah realized destiny was unfolding in ways she never anticipated. Would she step up and claim her place in this unfolding narrative, or retreat back into her life of routine? The answer lingered tantalizingly in the air, leaving her poised on the precipice of reality. The quiet hum of the diner faded as Sarah focused on the investor standing before her. The weight of his words pressed down, resonating with the turmoil in her chest. He was a familiar figure, often indulging in caffeine-fueled indulgences while discussing lofty dreams with anyone who would listen. But today, he was looking at her as if she held the answers to the proposal he'd been formulating in silence. What kind of proposal? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady, the flicker of anxiety bubbling beneath her calm facade. He raised an eyebrow, a hint of a smile creeping onto his lips. I want to launch a new initiative involving the community to elevate their input in our upcoming projects. I'm confident you can help us develop a concept that resonates with real people. His words swirled around her, stirring excitement and fear in equal measure. Did he really believe in her potential, or was he simply searching for a fresh face to market his plan? The thought unsettled her. Why me? She questioned, her instinct fighting against surefire optimism. I'm just a waitress. He leaned in, lowering his voice slightly. You represent the everyday citizen, Sarah. You hear their stories, their struggles. That insight is invaluable. His gaze remained intent on her, and for a split second, she felt seen not as a waitress, but as someone with something to offer. Sarah's heart raced. This was new territory, a chance to build something meaningful, to take part in an endeavor greater than her own. But in that heartbeat, doubt clawed back. Your coworker Tom says you have unconventional ideas, he added, as if sensing her hesitation. He thinks you're capable of more. Tom's faith in her echoed in the corners of her mind. Could she truly step into this role? Should I be the one to meet with you? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I haven't had any experience with this sort of thing. Experience is overrated, he replied, a glimmer of challenge in his eyes. What's important is your perspective and your passion. If you're willing, we can work together to craft something impactful. Here stood a crossroads, her moment balanced on the edge of potential and self-doubt. A soft buzzing sensation surged through her limbs as she recalled her earlier determination to shift her reality. This was it. Okay, she said, her voice finding strength. I'll help. The investor's smile widened, a signal of approval. Perfect. Let us talk specifics over coffee, shall we? As they moved to a booth, her mind raced with scenarios, brainstorming sessions, the possibility of networking, influencing a project with her vision. Each thought sparked a burgeoning flame inside her, igniting a desire to push boundaries. Yet, beneath those sparks lurked the shadows of expectation and fear. Could she rise to this occasion? As they exchanged ideas over steaming mugs, Sarah began to articulate her vision, drawing from the threads of her life experiences. Words flowed with an authenticity she hadn't anticipated. With every sentence, confidence mounted within her, transforming her previous trepidation into clarity. Unbeknownst to her, across the diner, Tom watched them intently, a mix of admiration and subtle apprehension etched on his face. Sarah caught his eye for a moment. He offered a nod that reaffirmed her decision. However, as the discussion deepened, a nagging question settled within the back of her mind. What if she couldn't sustain this momentum? Every bright word she spoke felt like a delicate glass orb, beautiful yet fragile. The weight of her responsibilities outside this diner loomed heavily. As time slipped away, and the investor made his departure, Sarah felt invigorated yet unmoored. They had agreed to meet again, but would she be able to retain the fire they had ignited together? Doubts loomed larger with the prospect of action. The moment she returned to the bar, her phone buzzed with a new text. From Tom. I saw you in there. Want to share what you discussed? The question beckoned like a tether, and yet, deep down, she realized that this was her narrative. Unfolding, Sarah pulled herself upright, a fierce determination solidifying within. She grasped her phone tightly, feeling the weight of both her fears and aspirations. As she prepared her response, another message flashed on her screen, this time from an unknown number. Meet me tomorrow. You'll want to know what's at stake. Suddenly, the stakes felt higher than ever, pulling her into an unpredictable adventure where the outcomes remained tantalizingly opaque. Would this lead her to her aspirations or push her deeper into her doubts? The stage was set, and the tension in her heart thrummed with anticipation. Sarah's heart thudded in her chest, each beat echoing the weight of the messages she had just received. The invitation from the unknown number lingered in her mind. What could be so urgent? Ignoring the steady chorus of clinking dishes and muffled conversations from the diner, she slipped into a quieter corner. A part of her wanted to text back immediately, to engage with the mystery and learn what was truly at stake, but another part hesitated. Was it wise to explore something so unknown? Uncertainty bred anxiety, and her mind circled through possibilities, each one competing for prominence. She glanced at Tom, who was busy behind the counter, his focus on the customers. His presence felt reassuring, yet juxtaposed against her swirling thoughts. It simply amplified her internal struggle. He had quietly been her ally, but now every detail of their interaction weighed on her. Was she truly capable of more? What exactly was at stake? With a deep breath, Sarah finally responded to Tom. Sure, I can share. Let us talk after I finish my shift. As the hours passed, her shift flew by in a blur. The clatter of plates and the rhythmic flow of orders became background noise that accompanied her racing thoughts. Each interaction felt polished, rehearsed, even as her heart engaged in a private battle. Somewhere within, ideally, a framework was forming, a plan rooted in her newfound ambition. When the diner finally emptied and she could sit with Tom, a familiar warmth spread through her, settling her thoughts as she breathed deeply. But what she would divulge was still unclear. The day had shifted, The prospect of new possibilities hung between them like a delicate thread. "So what's up?" Tom asked, leaning against the counter, his brow lightly furrowed in concern. "You seemed excited earlier, then I don't know, you went quiet on me." "I met with the investor again," she started, her voice steady despite the undercurrent of uncertainty. "He wants me to help develop their new initiative, the one about getting more community input on projects." Tom's eyes widened attentively. "That's huge. You're really stepping up." She nodded, but the doubt bubbled back up as she continued. "But it feels daunting. I don't have experience in this area. What if I let them down?" "Okay, hold on," he interrupted gently. "You're clearly a smart person, and he saw something in you. That has to mean something, right? You have a voice, you have insight. You can totally do this." His words pulled her back from the precipice of her fears. She wanted to believe this. Yet the nagging fear that had been rooted deep inside her felt more like a reality check, a reminder that the stakes were much higher. "What if I fail?" she whispered, barely allowing the words to escape. Tom's expression shifted into a soft seriousness. "What if you succeed?" For a moment, the silence lay heavily between them as Sarah contemplated his question. Failure seemed imminent when she considered her history, but that wasn't the only narrative available to her. She recalled how she had felt in the diner with the investor alive, empowered, contributing ideas with ease. "Do you really think I can carry this forward?" she asked, vulnerability seeping into her voice. "Honestly," he said, "I think you could surprise yourself. But I also think you need to grab hold of this opportunity with both hands. You have the chance to shape something real, something meaningful." Before Sarah could reply, her phone buzzed again, a stark interruption. It was the unknown number once more. An invitation to meet. In that moment, it crystallized within her this was her call to action. This was her chance to align her passion with her potential, to step fully into the person she wanted to be. As she fingered her phone with trepidation, another thought emerged. What if this meeting was a test? A test not only for her capabilities, but for the determination she had to cultivate. "Okay," she said, resolve shining in her eyes. "I'll meet them." Tom nodded, pride visible in his expression. Yet as she prepared her response, the gravity of this commitment settled in her chest. The prospect was thrilling but fraught with uncertainty. "Tomorrow," she murmured under her breath. With anticipation coursing through her veins, she hit send, and the connection to unknown outcomes bound her tightly. What other revelations could this bring? As the night air shifted around her, she braced herself, ready or not. Her journey was only just beginning. But deep down, another question lurked: who was the mystery behind that unknown number, and what would they reveal? As the sun dipped below the horizon, Sarah lay awake in her small apartment. The dim light from her bedside lamp cast soft shadows across the walls, illuminating the scattered notes she had hastily penned earlier. Ideas, strategies, and potential outcomes filled the pages with her scrawled handwriting, a physical representation of her unease and excitement. The invitation hung heavily in her thoughts, a tether pulling her toward uncertainty. Who was reaching out? What did they want? With each passing moment, an invisible clock ticked closer to her meeting, and her anxiety danced just beneath the surface. Was her sense of ambition premised on mere fantasy? She tossed and turned, the weight of tomorrow's encounter creeping into her bones. Sleeping seemed like a betrayal to her aspirations. In that restless state, she conjured up images of success, energized meetings fizzing with creativity, her ideas gaining traction. But those visions twisted with cracks of doubt, shadows of every failure from her past resurfacing, whispering insistently that she didn't belong in a sphere marked by certainty and confidence. When dawn finally broke through her window, painting everything in shades of orange and pink, a sense of urgency melded with her apprehension. Eager to regain control, she leaned into the idea of preparation. She pulled together a neat folder filled with her notes and sketches, carefully organizing her thoughts and potential proposals. This was more than mere busy work, it was her armor. By acknowledging the weaknesses that lurked behind her doubts, she fortified her resolve. But no amount of preparation could shield her from the gnawing question that remained. Haunting her every thought, could she really execute her vision? The diner welcomed her with its familiar sense of brewed coffee and sizzling bacon. Yet, today felt different. Each table, every room buzzing with laughter and chatter, contrasted starkly against her rising tide of anxiety. Tom noticed her distracted appearance almost immediately, his brow furrowing as he asked, "Hey, everything okay?" "Just preparing mentally for the meeting," she replied, forcing a smile, but feeling the fissures of doubt settle deeper. "Remember," Tom said, his gaze steady, "you've got this. Focus on your strengths. Show them the ideas that sparked your excitement in the first place." His encouragement hung in the air, a reminder and a challenge wrapped in one. But with each order she took, the clock in her head ticked louder, overshadowing his reassurances. Time was slipping away, stoking her fears of inadequacy, and those earlier visions of triumph began to fray at the edges. As her shift wrapped up, Sarah glanced at the clock, the looming hour of her meeting finally at hand. She gathered her notes, heart thudding louder than before. In the kitchen, she caught sight of Tom again, his head bent over a large pot. "I'm stepping out," she called. "Go get him," he shouted back, a beacon of support against her internal lag. As she left the diner, the world outside felt surreal, colors sharper, sounds louder, each step almost reverberating through her core. With every stride, she grappled with her intentions. How much should she reveal about her vision, her ambition, and her inexperience? The dichotomy stirred mixed feelings. A burgeoning confidence wrestled with her long-held fear of failure. The meeting place, a little cafe tucked within the bustling city, brimmed with patrons unaware of the significance looming behind its doors. Sarah's breath hitched as she entered. A series of tables lined the perimeter, filled with professionals immersed in serious discussions, an intimidating tableau. At the farthest table sat a figure she recognized, the investor. Taking a stealing breath, Sarah strode forward. As she approached, the man looked up, the professional demeanor softened by a knowing smile. An unvoiced challenge settled heavily between them, clearer than any words. "Welcome, Sarah," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. She sat, heart racing, the moment ripe with potential. But before she could answer, he spoke again. "I appreciate your willingness to help us, but I need to ask you something critical. What are you truly hoping to achieve here?" The question rang like a bell within her. Fleeting preconceived notions fell away. Forget about succeeding or failing. This was an opportunity to define the woman she wanted to be, one who refused to hide behind fear. But as she prepared to respond, a new thought flickered in her mind, stealing her focus. What if she not only needed to answer him, but also confront what lay hidden beneath her ambition? The narrative of her journey suddenly unveiled layers of possibility and personal reckoning. Taking a deep breath, she resolved to speak her truth, but which truth would emerge? As the meeting began, the weight of that question loomed larger than her anxiety. Would this be the moment of revelation, or would she recede back into doubt? A palpable silence enveloped the cafe as Sarah gathered her thoughts, scrutinizing the investor's face for clues to what he was seeking. His calm demeanor steadied her tumultuous heart. In this moment, the cacophony of expectations and anxieties faded, giving way to a sharp clarity that she hadn't anticipated. This was not just about fancy presentations or glossy reports. This was about a conversation that could pivot her life. She needed to articulate not just what she wanted to achieve, but why it mattered. "I want to empower others with my vision," she finally said, each word tinged with raw honesty. "I believe in creating something that resonates, not just in numbers, but in impact." His brow arched, intrigued. "Impact," he echoed, allowing the term to resonate between them. "What does that mean to you?" Her pulse quickened. This was a crossroads, an entry into uncharted territory. Impact means connecting with the community, understanding their needs, and designing solutions that make a tangible difference. "It's not merely about profit. It's about purpose," she replied, gaining momentum. This was the heartbeat of her ambitions, a reflection of her journey through doubt and despair. She had stepped beyond herself and realized that her vision was tied to something greater than personal success. It was about leaving a legacy that transcended her fears. The investor leaned forward, clearly invested in her fervor. "That's a compelling vision, Sarah. But let us delve deeper. What challenges do you foresee?" Her mind raced, flashing back to her past failures where initiatives floundered due to lack of support or insufficient research. "I know the road is riddled with obstacles," she admitted, like convincing stakeholders that change is necessary or overcoming systemic fears that stifle innovation. I've faced that resistance before, and I know how paralyzing it can be. With each word, she felt a shift within herself, as if she were shedding the constraining layers of insecurity. It was in this vulnerability that she found strength, a strategy to confront the blocks that had once suffocated her progress. He nodded, almost thoughtfully, and for the first time, Sarah dared to maintain eye contact. Then it sounds like you have a plan to face those challenges? A surge of adrenaline coursed through her, as she recognized that this was her opportunity to forge a clear path ahead. Yes, she asserted, voice steady. I plan to engage directly with the community I want to impact, to gather their insights and ensure my solutions are grounded in reality. I want to build a network of advocates who believe in the mission, not just a single-minded pursuit for profit. Building allies now that's smart, he mused, his voice rich with approval. But what about your own support network? Perhaps people who can help mentor you through the complexities of this endeavor? Sarah hesitated, her heart sinking a little. The truth was, she hadn't fully considered the need for mentorship outside Tom's unwavering support. I haven't really thought about that. I suppose I've been so focused on the immediate execution that I neglected to build a broader foundation of counsel, she confessed, vulnerability inching back in. Recognizing that as a crucial step, he replied, a softness in his tone that signaled understanding rather than judgment. You're not just launching a project, you're stepping into leadership. Embrace the wisdom around you, it will fortify your mission. The weight of his words resonated deeply. Sarah leaned back in her chair, letting the wisdom sink in. Being vulnerable is part of this journey, he continued. You don't need to have every answer. What you need is the courage to seek them. She left the cafe with a whirlwind of emotions, invigorated yet reflective. Perhaps it wasn't enough to simply showcase her talents. The real challenge lay in expanding her vision through collaboration and embrace of uncertainty. As she stepped outside, the chill of the evening air invigorated her spirit. It felt as though an avenue of opportunities opened before her, each turning, holding the potential for both growth and turmoil. Yet a question lingered in the corners of her mind. Could she truly let go of her obsession with perfection and welcome the unknown? She made her way back to the diner, the thoughts swirling in exhilarating chaos. As she entered, the familiar comforts momentarily stalled her. There was Tom, busy tending to the griddle, unaware of the transformation transpiring within her. Hey, how did it go? He inquired, glancing up with an expectant expression. Taking a deep breath, Sarah realized the conversation had only just begun, a pathway stretching out before her, as vast and intricate as the forest of thoughts that had led her here. I think I'm just getting started, she replied with newfound determination. But even as she spoke, the uncertainty of her next step beckoned. How would she navigate this newfound calling without unraveling the fabric of her own insecurities? The path loomed ahead, leading her toward an unknown horizon. Was she ready to embrace it? As Sarah washed her hands in the diner's cramped restroom, she caught her reflection in the worn mirror. The weight of her morning's conversation settled on her shoulders like a heavy coat. She felt invigorated yet unnerved, balancing the thrill of potential against the sharp edges of self-doubt. What lay ahead was no longer just a dream but a challenge she had to genuinely tackle. Returning to the kitchen, she found Tom with his back turned toward her. The gentle sizzle of bacon and the rich aroma of coffee filled the space, creating a veneer of normalcy that contrasted starkly with her inner turmoil. Everything okay? He asked, sensing her lingering distraction. She nodded, attempting a reassuring smile. What are you thinking about so intensely? He pressed, his gaze steady now as he turned to face her. I had a conversation today that has me rethinking a lot of things, she admitted, lifting her brow in an effort to lighten the moment. Tom leaned against the counter, squaring his shoulders. That sounds significant. You've always had really smart approaches. Don't second-guess yourself. His words ignited a spark of gratitude that briefly overshadowed her uncertainty. Remembering her conversation with the investor, she felt urged to take their exchange a step further. I think I need to seek out more experienced voices in my journey. It's a little daunting, honestly. He chuckled softly. It's only daunting until you realize those voices are out there waiting for someone to seek them. You're poised to make waves, Sarah. Embrace it. As the lunch rush began to swell, Sarah immersed herself in the rhythm of work, yet distracted thoughts danced on the periphery of her mind. How to find mentors. Where to even start. She had always relied on instinct rather than forging relationships with established figures. Let us brainstorm some ideas for your next steps. Are there any events you want to leverage? Tom called as the clatter of dishes punctuated their conversation. Events could work, she mused, recalling the brochures for industry seminars accumulating dust at home. But nerves constricted her thoughts. Were they even worth it? Hey, if you don't put yourself out there, how will anyone know what's brewing inside that talented head of yours? Tom's encouragement prompted a fleeting moment of resolve. Maybe he was right. I'll look into some. Her voice trailed off, unease creeping back. The thought of networking with established figures sparked a wave of fresh anxiety. What if she was unworthy of their time, their insights? What is holding you back? Tom probed again, sensing the doubt that flickered across her face. I guess what if I approach someone and they see through my facade? I'm not sure I'm ready for that exposure, she confessed, the reality of her insecurities spilling out. Tom paused, studying her carefully. You've already done the hard part, recognizing your need for guidance. Now you have to act on it. Just understand that everyone was a beginner at some point. It's about owning who you are, insecurities and all. Those words settled somewhere within her, offering a hint of clarity. You make it sound so manageable, she remarked, a small smile breaking through her unsettled demeanor. Because it is. Approach it like a conversation, not a sales pitch. Share your vision, your fears. Make it real, he countered, his eyes lighting up with passion for her potential. Sarah took a deep breath, shifting her focus from worry to anticipation. If she could approach like-minded individuals, others might support her vision and her vulnerability. The hardest part, bridging that initial gap, suddenly felt more like a bridge to cross rather than a chasm to navigate. Nervously tapping her fingers on the counter, Sarah decided that she would not just pursue mentors. She would open herself up for dialogues. Okay, I'll start reaching out, she said, conviction threading through her voice. As the day wound down, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose coiling inside her. She was not just eyeing the future. She was stepping boldly toward it. Yet, the evening air had cooled outside, an unwelcoming whisper against the warmth of the diner. Would she really step outside her comfort zone? Would she confront not just the mentors, but also her deeply rooted fears of inadequacy? Before she could dismiss the thought, a sudden idea ignited. Could she test her perspective by engaging someone in the industry this very week? Pushing her limits outside the safe sanctuary of the diner might reveal more than just professional guidance. It might spark a transformation within. She locked eyes with Tom, an unacknowledged certainty settled in. Why might that be important? She asked herself silently, a question layering itself into the fabric of her expanding mindset. But the future remained cloaked in shadows of uncertainty. Would her tentative steps lead toward the liberation she sought, or toward insurmountable challenges that would expose her vulnerabilities like never before? The dance between ambition and fear awaited its next act, and Sarah felt the stage calling with an electrifying intensity. The morning light streamed through the diner's window, illuminating the booths in soft, warm hues. Sarah shuffled behind the counter, her mind racing with thoughts of her newfound resolve. She was a warrior before the battlefield, ready to conquer the unknown landscape of professional networking. Yet, despite the resolve simmering beneath her surface, doubt clung to the corners of her mind like grease stains on the kitchen tiles. As she served coffee to the morning regulars, her heart raced. Each echo of laughter and chatter reminded her of what lay beyond the diner's walls, conversations she had yet to initiate, opportunities she hadn't yet grasped. The contrast between the comfort of her surroundings and the tension brewing within her became palpable. She glanced to where Tom was flipping pancakes, his nonchalance a stark reminder that the real world awaited her in spaces far removed from the comforting clatter of plates. Are you thinking about your connections today? Tom asked, glancing up from his task, his eyes filled with encouragement. She hesitated before answering. No. I'm thinking about how to even start. She tried to explain, her tone more anxious than she intended. What if I don't say the right thing? What if they turn out to be nothing like I expected? Tom set the spatula down, wiping his hands on a kitchen towel before stepping closer. It's all part of the process, Sarah. Think about it. What's worse? Not trying and always wondering, or stepping out, failing, but learning something valuable? His words churned within her, creating a cocktail of fear and possibility. She had spent so long existing within the confines of safety that the thought of actual engagement felt juxtaposed to familiarity. Yet here she was, poised at this precipice. "I know I need to try," she finally said, resolving to herself and to Tom. "I want to connect with people in the industry. I just need a plan," she murmured, a flicker of determination igniting in her chest. "Start small. Look for local seminars or workshops, maybe even reach out on social media," he suggested, metaphorically handing her the tools to build her bridge. "You might be surprised by how open people can be. You already have a vision. Share it." With a timid nod, Sarah set about creating her list of potential mentors and events. The process felt daunting, yet exhilarating. Each name she wrote down represented a step into the unknown, a chance to forge new connections. She would not just be a face in the crowd. She would be a voice with a purpose as the day progressed. She spent every free moment deepening her research. She sent messages, explored forums, and scoured the web for upcoming opportunities. The energy she felt was palpable, yet mingled with trepidation. What if they didn't respond? What if her attempts went unnoticed? In a moment of fleeting courage, Sarah posted a question on a professional networking site. "What advice would you give someone just starting in this industry?" Within moments, responses flooded in. Enlightened by the sheer generosity of others, she began to understand the immense value in sharing her vulnerabilities. Each reply wasn't just a piece of guidance. It was affirmation that there was a community ready to welcome her. That night, as the diner closed and the stars hung like distant dreams over the world outside, Sarah gazed at her phone screen. She had received multiple replies, some from seasoned professionals willing to share their insights. The thrill of connection surged within her, overpowering her initial fears. Perhaps it was no longer just a test of will, but an invitation to engage. But even with momentum building, a question lingered. Was she ready for the next steps? Some messages hinted at potential meetups, and while the thought was electrifying, it also felt overwhelmingly real. She was stepping out of one world and into another, into spaces where she needed to prove not just her competence, but herself. With her heart racing, Sarah considered the possibilities. The moment of truth loomed ever closer. Would she seize this fleeting chance to truly connect, revelations and reservations unfolding in the conversation that awaited? Or would the fear of inadequacy grip her, paralyzing her from taking that vital leap into the unknown? She felt the weight of her choices, heavy yet exhilarating. The clock ticked steadily as she pondered her next move. She took a deep breath, ready to confront her insecurities at long last. Would tomorrow mark the day she forged her first professional connection or retreat deeper into doubt? The stage was set, and all she had to do was step into the spotlight. The morning sun broke into Sarah's apartment, illuminating the small space where dreams clashed with reality. She stirred awake, feeling the gentle warmth wash over her. But today felt different, an unfamiliar thrill pulled at her heart. She glanced at the list of contacts she decompiled. Each name represented potential, a doorway to a world where her ideas could resonate. She could no longer hide in the shadows of self-doubt. It was time to assert herself. In the diner, the hum of morning chatter enveloped her as she made her coffee, her confidence gaining strength with every sip. Today was the day. She had sent out invitations to meet, ready to confront the mentors who could help her navigate this uncharted territory. With each passing moment, her eagerness transformed into determination, pushing her self-imposed boundaries further. Her resolve solidified every time she recalled the conversation with the investor, the moment she had embraced vulnerability to reveal her true vision. Tom arrived just as the breakfast rush began, and she felt the familiar buzzing of energy and excitement. "You ready for your big day?" he asked warmly, observing the change in her demeanor. The supportive glimmer in his eyes ignited optimism within her. "Today I step out of the diner. I'm ready to be heard," she declared, enthusiasm radiating, shoving aside any remnants of hesitation. The morning flowed smoothly, but the clock incessantly ticked away the hours before her first meeting. As lunch shifted into gear, the diner's atmosphere morphed from bustling cafes to the sounds of sizzling pancakes and ringing orders. Amid the frenzy, Sarah's mind buzzed with anticipation. She was about to embark on an adventure that would align her dreams with tangible opportunities. Finally, her break arrived. Stepping out into the warm sunlight, she took a deep breath and replayed the meeting's fundamentals in her mind. The weight of inexperience loomed still, yet self-doubt diminished with each passing second. She had come to recognize it wasn't just a matter of proving her competence. It was about sharing her unique perspective. Rounding the corner to the cafe, nerves fluttered within her stomach, but she steadied herself. This was the opportunity to walk the path she had envisioned, strategically navigating the conversations that could light her way. Upon entering, she was greeted by the energy of engaged dialogues, ideas swirling in the air like vibrant confetti. Sarah scanned the room, spotting her first contact, an established entrepreneur known for championing community initiatives. Thinking back to Tom's advice, she focused on her strengths. Walking up with purpose, she approached the entrepreneur. "Hello, I'm Sarah. I sent you a message about discussing community input into upcoming projects." To her surprise, the entrepreneur's face lit up with recognition. "Ah yes, your insights sounded compelling. Let us chat," they replied, guiding her to a quieter corner. They began to talk. Sarah felt the initial tremors of uncertainty settle into a calm flow. She knew her vision. It was rooted in an authentic desire to impact and empower, and the ease with which she articulated ideas surprised her. She shared her thoughts, fears, and the journey that had brought her to this moment. Hours seemed to dissolve into a sanctum of dialogue, a blend of curiosity and encouragement emerging between them. With every word spoken, she uncovered parts of herself she hadn't known existed. They brainstormed solutions, discussing grassroots approaches while integrating support networks. The energy crackled around them, and Sarah found joy in their dynamic. This conversation felt profound. She was no longer a mere observer, but an active participant in shaping the conversation. When the meeting ended, Sarah left feeling invigorated and empowered, a stark contrast to the trepidation that had accompanied her before. Each minute spent with the entrepreneur had ignited a fire within her, forcing her to embrace the notion that she was invaluable not just as a waitress, but as a visionary. Passionate and learned, she stepped outside, the world buzzing with color, the air crisp with potential. Returning to the diner became a part of her transformation. Her spirits soared as she recounted the experience to Tom, sparkling fascination interspersed with relief. "I can't believe how perfect it felt to share my ideas. It's not just about being a waitress anymore. I have more to give than I understood." Tom's smile was contagious as he sensed the change. "That's the spark I always knew you had. Now it's time to keep pushing, keep connecting." With recognition from both her newfound mentor and her steadfast companion, Sarah's confidence solidified into something tangible. No longer shy from stepping beyond the diner, she began exploring workshops, expanding her network, ready to embrace mentors across the community landscape. Days turned into weeks, each filled with new conversations, insights, and shared passions. Sarah had become a beacon for discussions that mattered, gaining recognition and respect in circles she hadn't dared to enter before. One evening, as she sat with Tom at the diner, wrapping up another successful shift, a message from the investor arrived, news of her involvement in an upcoming community initiative. It felt like validation, a testament to her growth. Looking into the mirror, she finally recognized the woman staring back. Not just a waitress, but a determined contributor ready to act, full of ideas, bravery, and ambition. The tensions she had once felt dissolved. Success wasn't about perfection. It was grounded in a willingness to embrace the journey. She had conquered not just the uncertainty of her professional identity, but had drawn a line in the sand, affirming her place in the world, a world where she would make an impact. This was more than just survival. This was living, and she was finally ready to take her place. The sense of fulfillment welled within her, a genuine satisfaction that nothing else could replicate. As the evening wrapped up and the diner slowly emptied, Sarah felt the accomplishment fill the room like the lingering scent of brewing coffee. She stood taller, proud of the woman she had become. Now began the real challenge, the continuous pursuit of growth through contributions, connectivity, and the courage to stand firm in her truths. With her sights set on creating a positive impact in the community, Sarah knew this was only the beginning. And before she left for the night, She turned to Tom, a satisfied grin plastered across her face. This is just the beginning. I'm ready for more. The steps she took that day were not just to fulfill a singular ambition. They transformed her with purpose, empowering her to craft her story in a world that thrived on commitment, connection, and courage. Now, for all of you witnessing Sarah's incredible journey of perseverance, strength, and transformation, you need to subscribe now to this channel. Don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It really matters. Comment your reactions and theories about Sarah's journey. Let us know what you think. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and witness the power of believing in oneself. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Don't wait even one more second.